All right, guys, welcome back for another video. So I said that there was going to be some other items coming on the Supra. So we're going to start here. This is the next mod here on the Supra. Don't know how much I've talked about. Car's got obviously an MST intake. It came with the car when I purchased it. An FTP charge pipe, which I needed for the methanol injection. And the car is a downpipe. So I have those on there, obviously MHD, self-tuned. Now, what I did purchase was, obviously it's a pure turbo, as you can see by the box, and I have to put my phone down to record this, but what I purchased was a pure 600. Now, a lot of people say, why didn't you go with a pure 800 or a pure 900? Pure 900s were pre-order only because I have a 2-port car. So since I have a 2-port car, it was pre-order only for the 900s. The 800s, for ones that did not require a core, were also not available. So basically with a 2-port, I would have to take the turbo off and send it, or buy a core from them, or find one on eBay and purchase it and send it to them. So pure 600, completely new turbo, obviously, as you can see. You can see it's got a slightly larger wheel. I think it's like 5 or 6 millimeters larger. Same size hot sod, so there's not going to be any spool difference on this as well. There is very little information. There's not a lot of people running these. So I'm kind of probably one of the first people that's going to have like some dyno results of actually pushing this thing. Granted, it would be virtual dyno numbers. I did look at going with a DAW turbo like the Hypercore. Really, at the end of the day, when it came down to it, the Pure was actually cheaper. And for me, really the biggest thing, because I bought this on Black Friday, was there was no shipping charge. So I think this was like $930 to my door versus the Hypercore, which I think is like, I'll put the price up, but I think it was like $1,500. It had like a discount, but then I had to pay like, I think it was like $60 to ship it. So really, overall, this came out cheaper. Now, the other thing I did not buy with this turbo is I did not buy what they have, the high flow inlet on this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to port the factory inlet and port match it to this. So then it will have the same effect as getting all of the air that it needs without paying that extra bit of cash. My goal with this turbo was I wanted factory spool and some more headroom. From what I can gather, it seems like 575 to about 600 wheel horsepower is about all that we're going to see on this. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how far I can push it and what I'm able to do with this turbo. I am excited to get it on the car. I'm not sure how long this is going to take. Usually projects end up taking longer than kind of what's expected. I might do a couple of videos as I get through this to kind of do steps. Obviously, this video is not going to come out until this turbo is on the car. And also, when that happens, I plan on doing a 91 octane with and without methanol. Whether I do that video separately or I just do a, hey, here's what the difference in the power, that might be there as well. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. That's some time off. I'm planning on putting probably 2 days into this is what I'm planning. It shouldn't hopefully take that long. But put the turbo on, make sure everything's tightened up, everything's snugged up. I also have a couple other things I'm going to install in the car too, while I have it down. And then tuning is probably not going to start for at least 3 or 4 days. We're supposed to get rain this weekend, and obviously I can't do polls if it's raining. So I'm going to stop here with my video, and then I will kind of continue on as I get more done. All right, guys. So I'm midway through. I've got this drain pan. I'll have to use that when I get up underneath it. I haven't pulled this coolant line. I'll need to drain that as well. I've got the PCV system off, the PCV hose, the inlet, the intake. I was able to port match this inlet yesterday. It doesn't look beautiful, but when you run your finger across it, it's actually really smooth. So I did that as well. So that'll match the turbo. Got the turbo over here. I'm going to put it on quick jacks. I wasn't initially going to do that. Since I had it on ramps, I could get that underneath it. However, there's these T45 bolts that go and mount the turbo to the block. I got this first one out. The second one's really tight, and I have, fat hands and larger forearms, so it makes it very difficult to get down through there because I don't want to put a lot of pressure on the wastegate. So I'm going to drop the downpipe. It's going to take me, I've already got the quick jacks under the car. I'm going to throw the quick jacks, throw the motor on it, lift the quick jacks up. It's going to take me 5 minutes to do that, 5, maybe 10 minutes to pull the downpipe. That's going to make a world of difference and make this so much more easy versus trying to get my hand in there. After working on Subarus, the one thing I have learned is, like, if you have to remove or do extra work to get to something to make your life easy, there's no reason on fighting it. Like, there's no reason on fighting this and taking 45 minutes to get this one bolt out when I can put the car up on quick jacks, which there's other things I'm going to do to the car while it's up, so I need to do it anyway, and drop the downpipe. If it's going to save me 25 minutes to do that, I'm going to do it. So just wanted to come in, touch on this, talk about this. So my recommendation, at least at this point, is if you're going to do a turbo, go ahead and just drop the downpipe. All right, guys, continuing on here. So I don't know if the quality of this has changed. There was an update on my phone, and for some reason, I think it went back to either standard definition or HD. I went back to HDR. So hopefully this looks a little bit better. I was editing the other videos rather, and it was very grainy. So hopefully it doesn't come through like that. But car's got the Pure 600 on it. Can't really see it, but Pure 600's on the car. I've got probably, I think, altogether was about 7, maybe 8 hours. That did include about 3 or 4 hours fighting with a bracket that's on the bottom of the turbo. That bracket mounts to the turbo and then mounts to the block. The first thing was the bolts kept falling. It kept falling on the under tray. I took the under tray off. Definitely recommend that. So if the bolt falls, you can get it. The next thing was, as big as my hands are, it's very difficult to get there and get those bolts out, or get them back in rather. So that was something else that I struggled with. Like I said, probably 3.5 hours of struggling with that. And then, of course, I was taking my time putting everything else in, making sure that I was going through, torquing everything, confirming torque specs. I replaced all the O-rings on the lines that I pulled off, the downpipe gasket. I replaced the nuts that are on the turbo. I bought all of that stuff. I did not want to risk a leak. New gaskets as well. The next thing too is, if you are going to do this job, I recommend going ahead and getting the coolant you need just in case. For me, I had one of the exhaust gaskets fall into the container and it changed the color of it to, like, it was almost black. So I didn't want to put that back in my cooling system. I found one O'Reilly's in the area that had it. So that would prevent me from going to the BMW dealership and paying BMW money. But make sure that if you're going to do this job, I recommend going ahead and just making sure you have at least one jug of that coolant, because you never know when you're going to need it. Especially if you have oil filter housing issues where it leaks coolant. That might be something else to think about. So like I said, 7, 8 hours total. Not necessarily a difficult job. Now that I've done it and I know what to do, I could probably do this job in 3 or 4 hours. There's a bleed procedure on the car, which is something else that I had to do after I basically drained most of the coolant out of it when I did that. So something else that you'll have to do. It's a very simple procedure. You can look it up. I'm pretty sure my neighbors hate me after that because the car was revving up and holding it. But I was able to get that system bled. I don't have the intake box on here. The filter, I don't know if anyone else that has the MST Intake has this issue, but on the back side down there, the bolt rubs up against the filter and it rubbed a hole in it. So I took that off and I have it zip tied there and I don't have the box on it. And that's why I had this kind of hanging here, was to maybe hold the intake up so it wasn't rubbing on it. So that's why that's not there. Probably going to go ahead and put the box back on it. But I just wanted to test that and see what it was like. Because I also wanted to hear how much more turbo noise, and there is more turbo noise without the top of the box on. It's a little bit louder. So that's where we're at with this. All right, guys, I'm not going to make you wait for these numbers. I will do a deep dive in comparing numbers in a separate video. like stock turbo versus pure numbers for the Pure 600. That way I'm not extending this video out. But it makes 462 horsepower, 523 torque on 91, 543 horsepower, 544 torque on E40. Now, you guys will notice the weight is different on the E40 map versus the 91 map. That's due to the fact the car was starting to spin in fourth gear. I'm having traction issues. The car is not on a radial. The car is on a 285 Yokohama Advan Apex V601, I believe is the tire. So it is somewhat traction limited. So I do want to point that out in case anyone's wondering. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible with this. This is information gathering for people that want to maybe buy this turbo. I just want you to see what it's capable of. I'm not trying to sell you a turbo. I don't care what turbo you buy. It's your car. But since there's not a lot of information, I wanted to provide that to you. The next thing is the atmospheric pressure and temperature. Both of these are in here. I do SAE corrected numbers to make sure that this is accurate and as consistent as possible. And how I get the atmospheric pressure and the temperature is based on the sensors on the car. The car has a pressure sensor for like intake air or ambient, and that is what I am using because that is going to be the most accurate for what the car is actually seeing when you're doing a run. And that will show you, hey, between these two runs, these were done different days. The pressure was different, the temperature was different, and that temperature is also at the intake. So that way you're seeing what the car is seeing. If you were to go to a Dyno Jet and do SAE corrected numbers, it would gather this information and put it in there for you as well. I've talked about this on my last video. I've compared off-the-shelf numbers to dyno numbers from videos on YouTube and putting this in. It is very consistent. It is very close. Josh Bader of Bader Built Racing, he did a video, it's been a few years ago, comparing his numbers on virtual dyno to an actual dyno that he had. The numbers were within a couple of wheel horsepower. So I feel very strongly that this is as accurate as you're going to get. I don't have 60 to 130 numbers. I don't own a draggy, so that's something that I may eventually invest in as a draggy. But I feel like horsepower numbers can also tell you a lot of what's going on. And you'll also notice that there's a little bit of lumpiness in here. I mean, this is kind of after doing multiple runs. This is something that I just kind of have to deal with because this is done. This isn't done on an actual dyno. This is done based on a log. So if there's any latency in the run, because essentially what this does is this takes data points and it plots it out. So if there's a data point right here, and then it takes a couple of seconds, and there's a data point up here, then it's going to have this. It's going to have this bump. So I can smooth this out. I can go here and smooth this out to 6, but I use a smoothing 5 because that's normally what you do on. That's normally what you're doing on a real dyno. And same thing here. If I go to 1, you can see how this is, right? If I go to 0, this is the data that it gets, and then it plots it. So this is how it plots the. This is the data that it takes, and then it plots it in a graph. So that's why I use smoothing 5. This is generally what you see if you go watch any dyno video. They're on a smoothing 5. Some use STD correction, some use SAE correction. So that's where I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to do a deep dive in another video. It'll probably be longer. I'll talk about 91 numbers. I'll talk about E40 numbers and do some comparisons there, talk about methanol and some of your options with that. And then if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Like I said, I purchased this turbo on my own. I've been doing the tuning on my own. So I personally am not trying to, I'm not trying to sell you a turbo. If people want to send me turbos, I would be more than willing to test some turbos out. This car is stock fuel system, so stock high pressure fuel pump. It's stock injectors, and that's another reason I'll talk about it in the next video. But if we look here at the boost, right, for the red line, this is your pump gas. The
orange line is E40. That's why we're running less boost here, is because I'm running into fuel pump limitations. So something else to think about when you start running ethanol blends. But like I said, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. I'll continue to answer questions if anyone is interested in this turbo. I think it's a good upgrade for someone who's looking for just a little bit more power, who's not looking to go hog wild, but also wants to kind of maintain that stock-like drivability. So thank you guys for watching, and y'all have a great day.